Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. We are here to continue the Barry Morphew arrest affidavit, part 4. I'll wait a minute or two to see if get some extra folks to join us today. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon or midday, morning, wherever you might be across the country or the world. I'm going to dig deep into this today again and hopefully get through quite a bit of it. We're approximately page 70 or so out of 129 pages. I hope you guys can join us today. And if you do, I appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button. It would be terrific. I'm going to get started here. It's such a lengthy document. It takes a while to get through this. Some of it's not such easy reading as well. All right. All right, let's get going here. So back to where we left off. Oops, let's see. Get our page figured out here. Oh. All right. Okay, so back to it. Back to the grind. S.A. Gershing asked if Barry came home Saturday and went for the hike or bike ride. Barry said, "When I came home, we did lunch then." S.A. Gershing asked if that was veggie soup, and Barry replied, yeah, lunch. S.A. Gershing asked if they hiked after lunch. Barry said, "I don't recall, because I don't even recall taking my bobcat back to crib." S.A. Harris confirmed Barry texted Crib that he was at the house and needed a few minutes. Barry said, "Okay, yeah, and I don't know why. I've got a great memory. I don't know why I don't recall that." S.A. Gershing and Barry called Tim backhoe, and Barry said, "Backhoe attachment for the Bobcat." And I looked at that. I don't know if it was that day or what. S.A. Gershing told Barry he drove to where the backhoe attachment was, and Barry interjected, Looked at it, Barry said. "Well, I didn't like it. I looked at it and didn't like it. Yeah, I called him and I told him I wasn't interested." Barry eventually said he wasn't interested because of the price. A side note on that one, reference earlier interview with Tim Clough. Barry had already knew the price of the backhoe attachment and never told Clough why he didn't want to buy it after that Saturday, May 9th. S.A. Gershing said Suzanne's location at the house was unclear and asked Barry if he would look at the picture. Barry said, "Yeah, and like I said, I'm running really late. I don't have an hour, but let me look at this." He added, and I would really like for guys, since I'm being cooperative, trying to help you, that you would give me the name of this guy. That's all I want for peace of mind. S.A. Gershing told Barry he had not been cleared yet in Suzanne's homicide, citing the evidence in the affair and the other collected evidence, and that some of the evidence is contrary to his statements. Barry said, "Yeah, but it can't contradict my statements. There's just no way. I told Joe word for word, place for place, everywhere I was." S.A. Gershing asked Barry about his first statement of setting his alarm for 4:30 in the morning. Barry stated, I don't remember setting the alarm. I might have told him that." S.A. Gershing confirmed he told him that. Barry said, but not my phone alarm, the clock alarm. "But I set that thing so many times. I mean, maybe I didn't remember. But I know I wanted to get going early, and sometimes when I know I got to get up early, I set the alarm." S.A. Gershing told Barry the FBI knew he was moving well before 4:30. Barry said, "I get up. I got an enlarged prostate. I get up and pee all through the night." Hi, Amber. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. All right. S.A. Grushing interrupted and told Barry he was outside in his driveway. Barry said, well, if I did anything outside, it wasn't anything wrong. S.A. Grushing explained Barry's statements do not matter compared to the importance of him seeing the evidence. Barry replied, it doesn't matter. Your evidence does not matter because it's if it's anything to do with tying me up with her disappearance, it's wrong. Let's see. S.A. Grushing said the agents are in an auditor role, not determiners of guilt. Barry interrupted, but Johnny, you know that there is nothing on my phone that shows I knew anything about her affair. So I think I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to say if I knew about that, then I did something. S.A. Grushing later told Barry that Suzanne told Jean Ritter not to come over to have coffee that week. Barry said, see, this is all pointing to her leaving. All of it is. And if she's in Mexico somewhere and she's freaked out or something went wrong, how do we know that? Barry said he had to go to work, but agreed to see the photo of Suzanne's last proof of life. The photo here, the selfie that Suzanne took, is in this document here. Apparently that was out on the patio, and that was the one I believe she sent to Jeff Libler. Barry looked at the photo and said, well, look at her. She's obviously drunk. Look at her eyes. Do you know what drunk eyes look like? He added. I mean, would you say those eyes are drunk eyes? S.A. Grushing said bloodshot eyes are what he looks for. Barry said, no, it's the lazy eyes is what I see in her, and she drank. S.A. Grushing asked Barry if she was wearing that swimsuit when he came home. He said, she was laying out when S.A. Grushing confirmed. Barry said, yep. S.A. Grushing asked if this arrival at home was after the blade change with Kribari. Barry replied, no, that's from going home after I got finished with Morgan for lunch. She was laying out, and then we ate lunch. S.A. Grushing said the photo was taken later that day, and he replied, then she must have went back out when I left. S.A. Grushing asked Barry if Suzanne was still laying out the second time he came back. Barry shook his head and said, I don't recall that. After a pause, he said, I don't recall. S.A. Grushing told Barry that when he arrived that afternoon, his phone went around the house quite a bit. Barry was nodding his head and saying, S.A. Grushing asked, were you looking for her? Oh, whoops. Okay, I lost my spot. Hold on, give me 1 second here. Barry said, I shoot chipmunks. S.A. Grushing asked, you shoot chipmunks? Barry said, yeah. S.A. Grushing said, it looks like he was chasing one. Barry said, yeah, I've shot 85 chipmunks because they got into my furnace and cost me a bunch of money. So when I'm home, S.A. Grushing interrupted and asked if he used a 22, and Barry replied, 22. So when I'm home, I just walk around and shoot them. Just keep going around the house. Barry made circular motions with his right arm. He said, every time I go around the house, I'll see another one, and I'll shoot it. S.A. Grushing told Barry that activity would explain his phone's behavior, adding that he left his driver door open in the garage before he went to the first patio. Barry said, and said, yeah, shooting. While nodding his head during the description of movement, he added, no, I'm shooting chipmunks. I've done that ever since we moved in. S.A. Grushing asked Barry if he remembered doing it that day. He nodded his head and said, oh, yeah. S.A. Grushing asked Barry what happened next. He shook his head and said, I don't recall. S.A. Grushing asked about the hike happening then. Barry stated, it could have been. Barry, I know there was one in the 2 or 3 day period where we went to Foose's, but I don't know. I can't tell you exactly when it was, and I don't recall. S.A. Grushing showed Barry a photo sent by Suzanne de Libler in the morning of May 9th, 2020, with a series of texts discussing Barry's desire to move to Arizona. When S.A. Gershing asked if that was her closet, Barry said, yep. The text discussed pizza from the night before, and Barry said, yeah. When the text, he's still wanting Arizona, was read, Barry asked, who's he? Me, S.A. Gershing confirmed. Barry asked, why is she talking to this guy about me and my life? S.A. Gershing reminded Barry of him asking agents about Suzanne being in Arizona, if he was suspicious about Suzanne's guy being in Arizona at that point. Barry asked, is this guy from Arizona? S.A. Gershing answered he was not. Barry asked, can you tell me what state he's from? S.A. Gershing said he was from Barry's home state, and Barry repeated, Indiana, from my hometown? S.A. Gershing said he could not tell Barry that. S.A. Harris said if anything happened to the guy, agents would be placing Barry in a bad place. Barry interrupted, I understand that. I understand. And nobody knows but you guys. Not Chafee? ? Not CBI? Barry was shown a picture of locations around the Morphew house of Suzanne's phone activity at 4:10 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. He said, well, if she did that, I have no idea that it went anywhere but the house. But if you was to ask me, I'd say it was at the house the whole time. S.A. Gershing told Barry that agents wanted to complete this with him this evening. He asked, is it going to be done? When told it would be done, Barry asked, done? S.A. Gershing told Barry if he sat down with agents and went through the binder, agents would be done talking to him. Barry asked, but what if I tell you something wrong that was which is unintelligible, that word specifically, different with Joe and Derek? S.A. Gershing and S.A. Harris explained to Barry that Barry was helpful today and that other interviews would be the same. He said, I mean, these things are they're not even relevant. S.A. Gershing and agents have a lot of data and Barry is the one who knows. He said, all right, I'll call you when I get finished. And he walked away. There's a couple additional photos here attached to the document, specifically of Barry. When S.A. Gershing and S.A. Harris were parked about 1 block from Barry's condo, Barry drove his truck beside the agent's car at about 5:03 p.m. and handed a weathered .22 caliber altered rifle with a newly mounted rifle scope to agents. Barry said that was the gun he used to shoot the chipmunk, and he had to leave to work out at the gym. Clearly, we can see the gun here in this photo on page 73. The gun that Barry handed the investigator. March 1st, 2021. In this interview, Barry again significantly altered his prior statements to adjust to evidence presented to him. He said he turned left on Highway 50 as he left the house on May 10th to see where elk were going, which put him in the direction of Suzanne's helmet. The admission to S.A. Harris was the first time Barry admitted to turning left on Highway 50 away from the Broomfield route. This accounts for the missing mileage from his return to trip home from the Broomfield Hotel. Barry's odometer registered a 183-mile trip to the hotel that morning, including about 2 miles of deviations and a 167-mile trip on the same route home for an approximate 14 extra miles. S.A. Harris explained to Barry that sometimes questions shed light on things and helps investigators know where not to look for Suzanne as well. S.A. Harris states there are things about his truck we are wondering and asked Barry when he left for Broomfield. Did he turn right or left on Highway 50? Barry said, yeah, there was a herd of elk in the road and there was one bull and he was a nice bull. And they all went up the gully there where that old washed out road is. And they went up there and I'm like, oh, I want to see how big this bull is. And I turned down there and they crossed right in front of me, and then I went down to the Garfield turnaround and then went to Broomfield. S.A. Grishing asked what Garfield is. Barry said it's a little town before the ski town, Little Ski Town. S.A. Grishing asked if it was before Monarch. Barry said, yeah, I turned around right there. S.A. Grishing explained that agents checked and hadn't seen Barry or others go past the Monarch camera. Barry said, yeah, I didn't. I turned around there. I went that way because I saw those elk. They were in the road right there before I got up to 50, and I let them cross, and then there was one good bull in there, and and I just missed seeing how good he was. Yeah. No. I'm a hunter, and I just wanted to see him, and I just turned that way to look at him. That's the only thing when I went to Broomfield. I told Joe and Derek everywhere I stopped. I had crap blowing out of the truck. I pull over at one spot, got my truck situated, and went off. Clearly the diagram of the Morphew residence, the direction which had been east to Denver, Suzanne's bike, helmet, and Garfield where Barry turned around, apparently looking for the elk. Barry's trip to Garfield adds an approximate 5 miles each way to his morning trip and places Barry and his vehicle in the direction the helmet was discarded, west from the bicycle. March 5th, 2021, Part 1. In this interview, Barry asked for immunity, asked not to get thrown in jail, said there was no evidence demonstrated how he placed his phone in airplane mode, said Suzanne made him a monster and things just blew up, and further explained the chipmunk and bull elk stories. At approximately 6:07 a.m., S.A. Grishing and S.A. Harris contacted Barry Morphew at the DSI facility, 7625 West Highway 50, Salida, Colorado. Agents had an appointment with Barry from the previous day to meet at 6 a.m. at his residence. However, Barry left his residence at about 5:40 a.m. and pulled into the DSI lot at approximately 6:05 a.m. Barry stated, yeah, I had a package at UPS I had to pick up. They closed at 6 and I had to get there at 6 to come back to the gym. I didn't lie to you. S.A. Grishing said agents were working a homicide case and desired to work with Barry and clear him if possible. Barry said, that should have been done months ago. S.A. Grishing said the FBI's job is to collect facts, review the warrants, and Barry was the main person to explain the facts. Barry was told his cooperation was voluntary, and if he chose not to help explain the facts in the case, that was his decision. Barry continued, but everybody's got eyes on me. They see me talking to you. There's people seeing me talk to you right now. There's cameras right now, and it's going to get out. S.A. Grishing told Barry that him talking to the FBI should appear normal to other people and help them calm down. S.A. Grishing told Barry that Barry's explanation of going to Garfield helped explain the missing 7 miles each way from his truck, something Joe did not know in July. Barry talked about how speaking with the CBI was bad for him because what he told them got out in public. S.A. Grishing told Barry that he considers talking to agents as a bad thing. Barry was told what normally happens if a dad is missing a daughter or a husband missing a wife is that they knock on the FBI door all the time. Hey, Spooky Trash. Thanks for joining us. Part 4. Hopefully we'll be able to mash this out quite a bit, maybe get to the end of the document. I want to believe you want to help find my wife, find out what happened, but the things that you've told me has crushed me. It's crushed me, and I don't know. There's no way you guys can know how I feel. I went 9 months thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden you guys come to me, boom. My whole mindset is changed about this whole thing. I'm crushed. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I can't leave my daughter. You guys throw me in jail. I've got a 17-year-old that's on her own. You guys don't want that. There's images of Barry here, bit blurry. I'm assuming that's from the investigators, like body cam or. Hey, Raging Night Wolf. Thanks for joining. It's interesting why Barry went ahead and was just voluntarily talking to everybody. It seems like it went on for quite a while too. Interesting. Barry later stated, and there's no evidence on me because it doesn't exist. He added, I'm telling you that. S.A. Grushing said things exist that are not explained, and Barry can help you with those. Barry said, you told me that if I explained them to you, that you would clear me publicly. S.A. Grushing agreed. Barry added, because that's what I need, because of this whole world is freaking. They've trounced me. S.A. Grushing told Barry that talking to agents is not a bad thing. Barry stated, it's not a bad thing for you, but if something happens and I say something wrong or I don't recall something that I told Joe this and I told you something else, boom, I'm done. I lied. S.A. Grushing told Barry that agents would tell him when his accounts to Joe differ from current statements. Barry said, when I talked to Joe, I was frantic in my mind. I was out of my mind even being able to talk to him like I did blows my mind that I was able to do that because I was crushed and Barry said, and I gave you my gun. That's my chipmunk gun. They didn't even take it. S.A. Grushing said the gun did not appear to have been fired in a long time. Barry said, yeah, it has. He added, I'm just telling you right now that if I was guilty, I wouldn't hand over weapons to you guys. S.A. Grushing said Barry's movements that afternoon, to include the truck door opening, him running from porch to porch, and Suzanne not answering texts from her lover, look different from investigators' perspectives. Barry stated, I explained that. You can ask anybody that knows me. And then an unintelligible word there. I've killed 85 chipmunks at my house. That's all I do. I can't sit still. I'm a worker. I'm a busy bee. That's what I was doing that day. S.A. Grushing asked Barry for permission to ask another question about the chipmunk thing, and Barry said, yeah. S.A. Grushing said from 2:44 p.m. to 2:47 p.m., Barry is going to the porches. Barry said, S.A. Grushing said at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone went into airplane mode. S.A. Grushing asked Barry if he placed the phone in airplane mode. So I have a question for everybody. Has anyone ever put their phone in airplane mode? Has anybody ever had it accidentally go into airplane mode? At least with an iPhone? Anybody at all? Any comments or statements on that? I'm curious to find out if anybody's had an unintentional situation with the airplane mode. Barry asked, where was it on me or was it in the kitchen or what? S.A. Grushing said the phone movement was how agents knew Barry was moving around. Barry said, oh, because it was on me? S.A. Grushing said that in the past, Suzanne tried to track Barry's phone because she thought he was having an affair. And Barry said, S.A. Grushing said Suzanne told her friends and her lover about her tracking him. Barry stated, well, she's told me that. She's tracked me everywhere I went. When S.A. Grushing said Barry may have been placing his phone in airplane mode to keep from being tracked, he said, no. I don't recall turning my phone on airplane mode. I don't recall that. S.A. Grushing further explained that Barry's phone went into airplane mode at 2:47 p.m. and came back out at 10:18 p.m., adding that maybe Barry did it on accident. Barry looked at his hand as if he was holding his cell phone and said, yeah, it's the first thing that comes up when you hit settings. And it would. If that happened, it was probably an accident. So, Raging Nightwolf, it accidentally has happened to you? I do believe that with an iPhone anyway, that it can accidentally go into airplane mode. Well, let's see. He added, I mean, I do not recall that. S.A. Gershing told Barry that his truck doors were opening and closing as it backed into the middle of the driveway. I think, me personally, I'm still in shock that trucks, vehicles, cars, any kind of vehicle, whatever, new ones anyway, certainly not older vehicles, have this kind of data to show when the door opens. I just can't believe that. It's kind of amazing to me. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Pretty incredible that it actually has that kind of detailed information, not just necessarily, GPS per se about where you've been driving. Barry said, I had junk in my trunk, and I always have junk, and I'm always taking something out, leaving my door open. I mean, I don't know. That's the case, but that's what I did. S.A. Gershing said the truck doors, to include passenger, were opening and closing until 9:52 p.m. That Barry must have been loading a lot in his truck. Barry said, to go get ready for Broomsfield, yeah, I was putting everything in my truck for Broomsfield. I was cleaning off my workbench for just because it was a wreck. And the side note to that is Barry admits on April 22nd, 2021 to the FBI that the tranquilizer was on the workbench and that it likely got thrown away in Broomfield. And I'm sure I was just loading for Broomsfield. S.A. Harris later explained the affair started because Suzanne needed someone to talk to. Barry asked, was it an old boyfriend? At least tell me that. And S.A. Gershing said he was not. Barry asked, they didn't know each other in high school? S.A. Gershing and Suzanne reached out to someone to talk to. S.A. Gershing said Suzanne reached out to someone to talk to because Barry was working all the time, and S.A. Harris said Barry was gone from Suzanne for 2 years in Indiana. S.A. Gershing said that for Suzanne, perception was reality. For instance, when Barry put a gun to his head, he was not physically abusing her, but she felt like he was. Barry said mentally, emotionally. I know, she said that. Yes, raging night wolf at between cameras on businesses literally all over the country and GPS monitoring and phones and vehicles and everything. I think they could, and of course, cell phone towers, that your phone's going to ping off that tower if you're moving from one spot to the next. They can track your every move, apparently. Barry added, if I abused her in any way, it was emotionally. And I got angry at times, but it was just because she accused me of these things that were just not true. And I had no way to prove it to her. She had no evidence that I ever did anything with another woman, and I haven't. But I couldn't prove that. I mean, you think 32 years of a lover and you could look them in the eyes and say, honey, I've never done that to you. And they would believe you, but she didn't. And I think she took that mindset with her alcohol and her pills, her depression, her and her cancer, all of this. I think she made this monster in her head and it just blew up. S.A. Gershing asked Barry about accounting for mileage when he saw the bull elk, whether he climbed or how he turned around. Barry said, no, I just turned around. When asked where, Barry stated, Garfield, probably the first place that I could turn left in. I didn't go in and then turn around. I just backed in and went straight to Broomsfield. Barry said, and I had no idea, and I should have told that to Joe. Then S.A. Gershing interjected and said, Joe did not know that back then. Barry said, yeah, but I didn't. I didn't keep him from him. It just didn't come in my head. S.A. Gershing told Barry he could not be a good dad for blank because of the stress. He replied, and I'm not, and it's killing her. I just want to put it behind. I just want to start new. I just want to start over, and I don't know how to. I loved, and in parentheses it says, or love Suzanne. I hate what she did to me. That breaks my heart, but I can't live like this. I can't go on like this. S.A. Gershing said agents do not intend to investigate this indefinitely, but Barry is the best source of information versus other people who do not know. Barry asked, and what about immunity? Can you give me immunity if I just sit and open my life to you? S.A. Gershing asked, immunity for what? And Barry replied, I think in case somebody falsely convicts me or something. S.A. Gershing said, you won't be falsely convicted. That's an interesting, intriguing statement. Thoughts on his part. Of course, if he wasn't conferring with an attorney, it's possible Barry didn't know the extent and the reality of what he was saying to the investigator. No way to know. Barry was told if something bad happens, agents would argue to the DA that Suzanne had the affair and talked about antagonizing him starting May 5th. Barry asked, she actually set a date? Barry was told it was that week. Barry asked, did she actually say to him that she wanted to leave me and be with him? S.A. Gershing confirmed, and Barry replied, she actually said that? S.A. Gershing said agents could show him the text that she wanted to start a new life with him. Barry said he had to get to work and asked agents to check on his rifle scopes and tax paperwork, whether they could be returned to him. All right, March 5th, 2021, Part 2. Investigators' interview with Barry. In this interview, Barry asserted that Suzanne's phone should have been found, that he had an intuition about her affair, that he could not recall what he threw away on May 10th, though he was shown photos, and that Suzanne was drunk when he came home Saturday afternoon. S.A. Gershing and S.A. Harris met with Barry at his Tailwinds worksite behind his condo in the afternoon of March 5th, 2021. When Barry is told that all of the people sent Facebook requests said it didn't seem like it was Suzanne sending them, then agents wonder if Suzanne was doing this just to make him mad. Barry said Suzanne has never done that in her life. When asked if Suzanne told him she befriended these people, he said no, and then said, but I have her phone. She gave me full access to her phone. She gave me the passcode. I mean, do you guys have her phone? Do you have her phone? Side note to that, FBI agents asked Barry about this statement on April 22nd, 2021, and he said he did not have Suzanne's phone or passcode, just her iCloud password. When agents tell Barry they don't have her phone, he says nobody found her phone. And then I figured you guys had to have it. He then says, see, that's really weird because I thought from day one you guys had the phone. When Barry was asked where he would look for the phone, knowing where the bike and the helmet were, he said, in between. Barry talks about Suzanne's affair possibly getting out on social media. And if it does, you know darn well in what everybody's going to say. I mean, I don't know if you guys think it. Barry added, but they're like, oh, Barry found out she had a boyfriend and killed her. He continued, I mean, that's what people say. And I'm hoping you guys believe me that I didn't know that one bit until the day you guys came to my backyard. Agents talk about some things related to Suzanne's 7 trips and her behavior in Mexico that likely made Barry suspicious. Like when he wanted to see her phone because he was not a fool. Barry said, I had some intuition, but I would never think it was a physical thing. On a side note, Barry refuses to tell agents in subsequent interviews how long he suspected Suzanne was having an affair. Barry was told that doesn't make him guilty of her disappearance. Okay, pardon me, I read that incorrectly. Barry was told that doesn't make him guilty of her disappearance. And in parentheses basically states Barry does not protest. Barry is reminded of the argument that was recorded on the pen and Suzanne saying it was about money and asked what that was about. Barry said it was Suzanne's grandmother's money and explained that Barry and Suzanne had borrowed $100,000 from Suzanne's dad and that it caused family problems with Suzanne's brother. Barry said Suzanne wanted to pay it back with her grandmother's money, but Barry said he made a lot of money and he would pay it back. Barry was asked about his phone pinging down by the river during the Facebook post on Friday night and asked if he was outside. Barry said, I could have been. I don't remember. I chased critters around the house all the time. There's a bear that got in the garage. He completely destroyed my garage, and I've been looking for him ever since he came in the garage. I wasn't going to shoot him, but I was just going to scare him off. And coyotes are always outside. Barry was shown a map printout of Highway 50 near the Garfield area west of his Puma Path house and asked about where he turned around at Garfield when he left his house. He asked where his road is and is told that it is off the map. Barry said, I can't tell you exactly where I turned around, but it was probably the first road or driving going into Garfield. Barry said the reason he was watching where the elk go is because he hunts sheds, and that while the bull didn't have its horns, it was a big bull, and he figured that Barry could get its pattern, then he could follow that pattern and find its horns. Barry talks about the country road where the helmet was found and said he was pretty sure he went past that one because he was looking at the herd, and I'm assuming that means still looking at the herd. As Barry discussed watching the herd and its patterns where he turned around, he was motioning several times back and forth with the pen from the road to the location of the Garfield mine on the map. Barry was shown a photo of the RTD stop and asked about it. Barry said he pulled over there to GPS the job site. There was a trash can right there, and he just took stuff out of his truck. Barry said whatever he threw away was probably just sitting right there on his seat. Barry said he couldn't tell agents what it was, but it wasn't worth anything. Barry said it was just junk, probably wrappers and cans. Agent labeled this trash run as number 1. Barry was shown a satellite image of the south side of the hotel where he parked his truck. Barry said he remembers why he was there. Barry said he was just waiting for someone to come out of the door and go in and get a free breakfast. And that was where agents labeled this as trash run number 2. Barry was shown photos from video surveillance, pictured below, of him carrying things including boots into the hotel. Barry said he doesn't even remember carrying the boots into the hotel. Then Barry said he remembered that he took them into the hotel to take the laces out. Barry said the boots had holes in them, but he wanted to save the laces, so he took them in to take the laces out. Barry was asked about the blue item he was holding, and he said it looked like his swimsuit, and asked if they got it from his truck. Barry was asked by agents if he remembers what was in the garbage bag. Barry said it was probably his mail. Barry was asked about changing his shirts that day, and he said he did so because it was hot. Barry was shown photos from video surveillance and asked about his McDonald's trash run. Barry said he was pushing it down because the trash was at the top, and he was pushing it down so it would fit. Barry was asked what the small item was that he was throwing away, and he said he couldn't remember. Barry said he does this all the time, and it's just him. Barry said, I know it looks bad and probably looked bad to Joe, but there's nothing there. That trash run was labeled as number 3. Barry was shown on a map of Men's Warehouse parking lot and told he stopped there. Agents asked if he took things to the dumpster there. Barry said, not to my knowledge. Barry was asked if he took things to a trash can, and he replied, I could have. Barry was told he was there for about 40 minutes and asked if he remembered what he was doing there. Barry said, I think I was still cleaning my truck. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would. I was probably getting crap out of my truck, like I said, which I've done my whole entire life. That was labeled as trash run number 4. Barry was shown the photograph of the binder he is carrying into the hotel. Barry said it was papers related to the job so he could study and prepare for the job. Barry was asked about changing from a black to a gray shirt. Barry said because gray would reflect the sun. Barry said again that from what he has seen, Suzanne left and he wants to go to Mexico to find her, adding that Suzanne doesn't have to go through a border and wondered if she had $70,000. S.A. Grishing said if it wasn't Suzanne, the FBI would consider it. Barry said, but she turned into a different person. She was working out. She was never this fit and this ballsy in her life. Barry said her mind was altered from drugs and alcohol, adding that substances alter people's minds, and he is positive Suzanne's mind was altered. S.A. Grishing asked if her mind was altered Saturday afternoon when he came home, referencing Barry's statement of her drunk eyes in the photograph. Barry said, I thought it was, but I thought this might be good because it might make for a better night if she's cut the edge off with something, so I wasn't going to. S.A. Grishing says Barry wasn't going to fight her on it. Barry said, so I wasn't opposed to that day, and I surely wasn't going to bring it up. If I bring those things up, it just causes a fight. She'll start something, so I just let it go. So what's everybody's thoughts? Have you guys heard anything that seems to be like extraordinary, proof and evidence that Barry committed the crime? Any thoughts on that? March 10th, 2021, part 2. In this interview, Barry said Suzanne might be in the river, described the Elks path across Highway 50, said if he disposed of her between Salida and Broomfield, agents would see evidence from his truck, discussed why blank bed sheets made him look bad, and that the tranquilizer dart evidence could be explained from him shooting 2 deer with the dart gun near his house. Barry met with S.A. Grishing and S.A. Harris at Fire Station 4, 2-150 La Plata Street, Poncha Springs, Colorado. Once seated, Barry asked about his scopes. S.A. Grishing replied that the scopes could be removed from the rifles, but if the agents can clear Barry, he could get everything back. Barry agreed to wait and said if he was guilty, he would not be talking to agents, adding, because I'm not stupid. He said he has answered every question and wants it to be over. He commented that agents sitting at his workplace makes him uncomfortable. S.A. Grishing said Barry does not return texts or calls, so agents wait until he appears ready because he appears too nervous to talk. Barry said, I think we've gotten through that, adding that he lost trust when Joe and Derek turned on me. Barry stated that Suzanne told Sheila about things that has pitted Sheila against me. He said he thought Sheila would counsel her that marriage is for life. Barry said he told Suzanne when they got married it was for life, specifically saying to her, I'm a godly man, and you better make sure that you want me because it's because of life. Barry said, I don't understand. I mean, Suzanne's a good woman. You guys probably think she's a piece of crap. S.A. Grishing said agents do not think that, and Barry said she's as good as they come. I don't understand what got her to this point. Barry said he did not want to fight with Suzanne because of her cancer. He added the next night it would be like nothing ever happened, and she'd be wonderful. She'd make love. Barry added, we had a great night that Saturday before. We made love that night. There was nothing that happened at 2:30. I mean, I looked back, nothing. I grilled steak at probably 5, 6. We ate dinner, went to bed, made love. He added, I always fell asleep right away because I'm dead tired from work. Surely she stayed up, but I don't know, shaking his head. I don't know if she stayed up or went somewhere and texted or did something. S.A. Grishing asked where they had sex, and Barry answered, in the bed, in the master bedroom. Barry then referenced the second Valentine's Day in a row when Suzanne met this guy, when she said she was meeting her dad. Barry said he told Suzanne, honey, and then something unintelligible, I'm coming to Florida. Let's just spend a few days. He said he went, and they had an unbelievable time. We had sex 3 times a day. She was incredibly romantic with me. She gave me the most beautiful card that was heartfelt. S.A. Harris told Barry that Suzanne's life with her lover appears to be more her true life than her life with Barry, and that agents did not doubt they still had sex, but she was placating Barry. Barry was told Suzanne felt like she had to have sex with him at times. S.A. Grishing referenced her music books, drinking IPAs, and the bike riding as being pieces of her new life with her lover, that he was encouraging her to find her true self, and Suzanne was looking for a new life. Barry asked, "So what's this guy's relationship with his wife?" He asked if the lover's wife was ugly, and S.A. Grishing said she was not. Barry asked for more information about the lover, and S.A. Grishing told Barry he was not cleared as a suspect and would have to be cleared before knowing such things and getting guns back. Barry said, "I would agree with that, but there's not one gun in that safe that's been fired for months." He added, "The only thing I fired is my chipmunk gun, and I guarantee you I fired that, even after Suzanne went missing." Barry confirmed that was the gun he gave agents. S.A. Grishing asked Barry when he thought it was okay to stop searching for Suzanne, and he replied, "Never." S.A. Grishing asked when Barry physically stopped searching for her. He said, "I searched for three to 5 months." S.A. Grishing asked Barry at one point he felt searching would do no good. Barry said, "I felt like she was gone. I felt in my heart that somebody took her and left the area. And then probably 5 months down the road, I thought she's in the river." S.A. Grishing asked Barry what he did about searching difficult places like mine shafts. He said, "We did. We searched every mine shaft in this area." S.A. Grishing asked if vertical shafts were in the area, and Barry replied, "Yeah, there's one behind the house that's on the very top, but it's plugged by a boulder. They plugged it. It doesn't go. I mean, it goes straight down, and they plugged it." When he asked if there were more, he added, "There's another one, but it's been blown up by the house. I don't know of anything open by the house. The ones in Garfield are open. The ones up to 40 are open." S.A. Grishing asked if search and rescue covered those. Barry said they did not search much past the first day or go across the highway. He said, "And I was certain that first day that a mountain lion got her. I was certain of it," he added. "Certain of it." He added, "I've been hunting that lion for 2 years." Barry said he tracked the lion 6 times and knows his habits, coming down the hill behind the house, up the road, across the bridge, across Highway 50, and east across the mountain. He added, "I've seen him do it 100 times. S.A. Grishing asked Barry if the lion was seen by the helmet, and Barry replied he did not know. Barry said he was told there was no blood evidence at the scene, but he and George said too many vehicles drove through it. S.A. Grishing asked how far the lion could carry Suzanne, and Barry replied, "To the top, to the very top." Barry said that's the first place he looked because he has seen TV shows where lions dragged people up a mountain. S.A. Grishing asked Barry how a lion would eat a person, and he replied, "Lions go for the neck." When asked if the lions completely eat a person, Barry replied, "He's not going to eat her clothes. When a lion eats a deer, he's gonna," unintelligible, "the fur," he added. "Her clothing should have been found." S.A. Grishing discussed the initial response and lack of information law enforcement possessed. Barry was asked what he presently thinks happened to Suzanne, and he said, "I think she left." He added the money is gone, and he thinks she left and something went wrong. Barry said she would not leave her girls. S.A. Grishing asked Barry where Suzanne would go, if not to her lover. Barry said she would be the kind of person that would say, "I'm just going to disappear and see what happens and then try to start my life." Barry said there's no way she cares more about this guy than about her girls. He added, "I just have no clue. I thought she was in the river." He said search and rescue assured him she was not there after they used poke sticks. Barry stated at the end of summer, "I'm like, what if she's there? The whole time. What if she's there?" He talked about using excavator from work and tearing up a beaver dam, but needing a 240 or a 320 size excavator because of the hundreds of trees. Barry asked, "Could she be there right now?" "Absolutely. I don't understand why they spent $140,000 digging up my job site. If they would have put that money in the river, cleaning it, and making sure the body's not there, that would have been put to good use." He continued that the neighbor who heard the machine was 90 years old and senile, and the contractor who worked at the job site asserted no work was done recently where the dig occurred. He said the media got a hold of that and everybody jumped on, beating the freaking crap out of me. S.A. Gershing asked Barry if after he looked at the bull elk, he continued past the exit to 285 to Denver or continued on Highway 50 into town. Barry said, no, I went straight there. When asked how long he watched the bull elk and if it was walking along the highway, Barry said, no, they crossed. I was trying to see where they were going up the mountain. That's where I was going to look for his horns because they do the same things. They're going to drop their horns in the same pattern. He added they had already crossed. They were in the road when I stopped in the road before I got to 50. They were in the road crossing, and then they crossed the road. By the time I got up there, they're already crossing the mountain. I mean, I don't stop on 50. I keep going. I'm just watching to see where they're going. I get to Garfield, turn around, go right to 285. A side note on that is investigators have driven from the intersection of Highway 225 and Highway 50 to Garfield, a distance of 2.73 miles, an impossible distance to see an elk at or around 4:32 a.m. and follow it in a short period of time. Barry had about 30 minutes to head that way, turn around, and head back towards Highway 285. Barry's truck was seen passing video surveillance on Highway 50 right near the junction with Highway 285, and then again just north on Highway 285 around 5:14 and 5:16 a.m. Barry continued, and the thing about it is, if I had anything to do with this at all, there would be evidence of me and my truck doing something with her between Salida and Broomfield. Barry added, and if I had her and took her to Broomfield and disposed of her somewhere between there, you guys would see that with my computer. You see where I stop. I told Joe every stop I made. And I know for a fact it had to line up with my computer. If you guys are good at that, at forensics, it had to line up. S.A. Gershing told Barry that agents could not see every location point where he was in the mountains, which is why the bull elk story made sense. Barry said, yeah, he cleared his throat. I know that you had my truck for several days. I know that you had my house. I know you had her car, and there's just no possible way that you found any evidence of that because it doesn't exist. He added, I know you took my bed sheets. I know I didn't even know until after the fact that blank sheets were ripped off her bed upstairs. I mean, what a coincidence. Her sheets are off her bed, and then all of a sudden it's like that's where I did it, and the sheets are gone. He washed them, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea they were off. Suzanne was obviously washing the sheets because blank with Suzanne and blank, and they were going to stay there that night, and Suzanne's taking sheets off and washing, getting things ready. A side note is Barry is presumed to mean to say blank where he says Suzanne. I guess referring to who was could possibly stay in the room. S.A. Gershing asked if blank was going to stay there, and Barry said, yeah, they always sleep together. Yeah, they always sleep together. Barry continued, so I didn't even know that those sheets were off the bed, but boom, that makes me look bad. And I was not even aware of it, but I guarantee you there's no evidence on those sheets wherever they're at. I don't know if you can have evidence when you wash them or not. I've never done your job, but there. I know for a fact you guys have found no evidence on me doing any of this. It just doesn't exist. That's why I just don't understand how it can go 9 months. S.A. Gershing said the odd thing about the sheets and the house was that a tranquilizer dart had been fired in or around the house. Barry replied, and I have shot, and again, I have told you, I don't want to get into trouble with DNR. S.A. Gershing inserted he was not. Barry continued, I'm telling you right now, I've shot 2 deer with my tranq gun because I used to raise deer and I collect horns, and I'll tell you exactly what I did." He continued, "They're in the yard. They're in the yard. I shoot them. Then they go to sleep. I cut their horns off, and I wake them up, and off they go with no horns on their head. And I cut their horns." S.A. Grishing said Barry's friends in Indiana talked about that, and he replied, "And it's totally legal. And so I'm not going to share that with DNR. It's illegal. And so I'm not going to share that with DNR. The way they are," and he exhaled, "they come arrest me. So things like that in my head, what should I say? And nobody even asked me about that trank dart. But you're going to find trank darts around my property because I've done that." S.A. Grishing asked Barry when he last did that, and he shook his head and replied, "I don't recall, but it would be when deer had antlers, and that's usually until late April." S.A. Grishing said that made sense because investigators could not explain a tranquilizer dart. Barry said, "I'm just telling you right now, I'm a redneck, and the first thing I thought of when I came here and saw deer in my yard with big horns. I'm like, I'm getting them horns. Not going to kill it. Not going to poach it. But I guarantee if DNR knew I did that, they'd slap my wrist pretty hard." DNR's Department of Natural Resources. There are a lot of legalities with hunting and particular things you're permitted by law to do and not do. S.A. Grishing said agents are not here for those reasons. Barry said, "I know, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. I'm just being open with you. Things line up against me, coincidentally or for some reason. I mean, I look back and see some things happened, and like, gosh, that makes me, why would God allow those things in the situation to make me look like the sheets, the bed unmade?" S.A. Grishing asked why those things made Barry look bad, and he said, "Because it looks like if I did something and ripped the sheet and got blood on them and ripped them off and washed them, to me, looking at it through detective's eyes, that would look a little suspicious." Barry continued, "So obviously I didn't. And just little things like that, I'm like, and just like throwing my crap away. I've done that my whole entire life. And I told Joe, I said I was in a hurry. I was going to put it in the dumpster. And I think the dumpster, exhale, bulging anyway. But I had all this freaking crap in my truck, and I've done that my whole life. I see a trash can, I pull over, I throw something out. I've done it my whole life." Barry continued, "So whatever we have to do to get this over, I need it over. For me, I'm just need to move forward somehow. Of course, what you told me about the affair broke me. I'm still broken about it. I will probably never get over that. But the good thing about that is that it would allow me to move on, knowing if what you're saying is true, even if she comes back, or even if we find her alive, she doesn't want me anymore anyway. So why should I put all of this, all of my heart and my love into this relationship if she doesn't want me anymore?" Barry continued, "I can't go on like this. This is no way to live. It's not fair to my daughters that I be so upset. But you want to talk about the relationship, which I think is where we were when we left. I'll answer anything about Suzanne and I, but obviously she had two different worlds. I just can't believe what she's telling this guy, and I can't believe what she's telling her friends and family." S.A. Grishing read the text of Barry's response on May 6th, saying Barry was sorry things went the way they did and asked what he meant by the way they did. Barry said, "I don't recall that." Barry added, I know there was a terrible text by, and I told Joe about that." S.A. Grishing said, "This was Wednesday." And Barry said, "Yeah, but I thought it was Friday when I talked to Joe. I thought this happened Friday." So S.A. Harris asked if Barry knew what the fight was about, and he said, "She was accusing me of having an affair, and she accused me of having cameras in the house, watching her every move." When S.A. Grishing asked if Barry had functioning game cameras, he said, "I had game cameras. I think all of them were in the safe. They took them all. The game cameras I had outside. Sometimes I put them by the drive just to see if somebody's coming in and out when I'm gone. But most of the time, I'm trying to get a picture of a deer, an elk, or a bear. But I had no cameras in the house. I've never used a camera in the house. And she was just absolutely sure that I had cameras in the house. Barry said he monitored the cameras with a little SD card that he can put into a computer. He added, yeah, and even the outside cameras, she thought that, oh, you're watching, or your girlfriend is watching, and you on the outside cameras. I said, honey, the outside cameras don't even work. But she was just certain that if like I was outside with her and doing something in the yard, she would say, I know she's watching you. Just stupid stuff. And I'm like, that's why the only reason that these fights happen is because she's accusing me. And I never understood them until now. She's accusing me because she wants to justify her relationship. S.A. Grushing said Suzanne's affair did not start until 2018. And, excuse me. And she suspected he was having an affair while they were in Indiana. Barry said it goes way back, but had never gotten to this point where she was just, it's almost like before when she said it, she wanted me to admit it and be done with it. Barry continued, and now it's like, shh, I don't care. I got somebody. I don't care. That was her attitude. S.A. Grushing said on May 6th, Suzanne wrote in her notes, Barry accused her of blank and boyfriend. After confirming blank was one of her medications, Barry said, and I told you why I did that. I did that to make her feel what it's like to be accused because I didn't believe she had a boyfriend. I mean, I've told you guys that since day one. You surprised the heck out of me telling me that she's having an affair. If you would have said she's texting somebody and having an emotional conversational affair, maybe I could have, but physical? Side note, in April 2021 interviews with FBI, Barry asserted he did not suspect an emotional affair, though he admitted to agents in February and March interviews he suspected such going back to 2019. All right. She loves the Lord. She knows God's word. We got to answer to the Lord when we do things like that. And S.A. Grushing interrupted with Barry's earlier reference to King David's affair. Barry was told that agents see bad things about people in investigations like this all the time, adding this was an intimate partner investigation from the beginning. Barry talked about a couple from their church whom they grew up with, and the wife went off with another man, destroying the family. Barry said, the thing about Suzanne is I wouldn't think that she could ever destroy her family because we were very close, all four of us. That's why I'm like, Suzanne couldn't do this just knowing who she is, knowing our love story. Barry talked about meeting Suzanne, talking all night, falling in love, and having children. He spoke of the 2013 incident when Suzanne almost died from cleaning the shower with bleach and peroxide. Oh, wow. Yeah, apparently that could be a pretty toxic combination. That's pretty scary. And the fumes interacted with the chemo and put her mind into an anxiety mode. Barry said he was a workaholic and a huntaholic and cheated her out of what a woman needs emotionally. He said he was never home and worked daylight until dark, going selfishly hunting. Barry added, she's the love of my life. She'll always be the love of my life. I've forgiven her for what she's done to me. Barry added, but I don't know if I could ever be with her again if she comes back. And I'm justified not to through this. Barry said he has to trust God because God knows more than us. And I can be angry with God and say, you can't take my wife. You can't take their mother. S.A. Harrison, Suzanne wrote in her notes, she talked to Barry about divorce as early as 2019. Barry said, I don't recall ever talking about divorce. I recalled her mentioning it in a fight, but when we're both sober and sitting down and having a heart-to-heart talk, I don't ever recall her telling me that she wants a divorce, ever. S.A. Harris explained that in 2019, Suzanne said Barry won't hear talk about divorce. Barry asked to whom Suzanne told that, and agents said it was a friend. S.A. Harris said she brought up the topic and said Barry won't even hear it. Barry said, and I wouldn't. I mean, if she said, hey, we're going to have a talk about this tonight, which she never did, I would say, I'm not discussing this because it's never going to happen. S.A. Gershing asked if Barry or Suzanne discussed such things with the girls. Barry said, absolutely not. S.A. Gershing asked if the girls ever saw them fighting. Barry said, there's a couple times when they saw us fighting, but it was about the other woman thing. Is when I was just fed up and I'm like, one day I was like, they were both upstairs and I said, girls, get down here. We're going to have a talk. Your mom thinks I have a girlfriend. I don't know what to do. And I drug them into it. And it was the worst thing I ever did because Suzanne, she didn't appreciate that, bringing them into that. And, but I was desperate. I needed help. I needed somebody on my side and I drugged them into it. And it was a bad thing to do. And she never forgave me for that. S.A. Harris said Barry did not want to hear about divorce. Suzanne was talking about civil separation. Barry said, none of that, none of that. I didn't take any of that with a grain of salt that day when she said that. There's no way in my mind, though, that she would sit down and say, I want a divorce. That statement right there was in the middle of angry outbursts via text. And I never understood it. Now I do. But then I blamed it on alcohol or drugs or something in her system. Barry added, because she would have these outbursts and I would come home, it was like nothing ever happened. It was like two different people. So I understand. And I told this to Joe from the beginning. This looks bad. When we had this fight, I thought it was Friday. That's another thing that I said that coincidentally looks bad. But that had nothing to do with anything. I mean, S.A. Gershing showed Barry deleted calls from his phone on May 4th. Asking if he remembers why he deleted them, Barry said, no, I don't recall deleting any calls. The only thing I deleted was texts because I don't want the girls to see them, but I don't recall deleting calls. S.A. Gershing showed deletions of calls to Dan Monex, Collegiate Peaks Bank, and others, and Barry said, no idea. Don't recall deleting them. If I did, it was just to clean things up. But S.A. Gershing said agents are available whenever to meet Barry. He said, well, I'm in a situation where I feel like I've looked bad because I've not reached out to you guys. But I've not reached out because of what everyone else is telling me. Barry asks if the FBI was having the sheriff keep tabs on him because it seems to Barry that the sheriff drives by when agents are in town. S.A. Gershing said agents do not tell the sheriff what to do. S.A. Gershing showed Barry a document with 3 calls from him to Gene Mormon on May 8th and 9th, explaining those were the only calls to Gene in Barry's phone logs. Barry said Gene and I would always talk, and S.A. Gershing replied these are the only calls on his phone. He replied to Gene, well, Gene and I talked quite a bit. Well, here's the deal. Usually it's him calling me. Agents explained the last call happened on the way back from Moonlight Pizza on Friday, May 8th. Barry said he thinks that call was him telling Gene to tell his son that all the money was paid back. I think that's referring to the $100,000. S.A. Gershing placed a page documenting Barry's use of airplane mode on his phone in April and May 2020, saying agents thought he was keeping Suzanne from seeing where he was, and it did not appear accidental. Barry asked that, and I don't know what that word is, unintelligible. And S.A. Gershing said it was a record of his use in 2020 since April 15th. Barry said, oh, you're talking about not that day. You're talking, yeah, I did that to let her not, because she tracks me everywhere I go. And there's an attachment at the end of the affidavit, which I'll get to. S.A. Grishing asked what events made Barry decide to turn it on and off. He said, just not that I'm doing anything wrong, but just to try to get her to say, oh, I couldn't track you, or just, and he shook his head side to side. Barry added, well, she would show up at my job sites in a rage, thinking I was having sex with one of my clients. He clarified that incident occurred in Indiana, saying it made him look bad in front of his clients. Barry said, I know for a fact that if you guys could find out what she did, there's no doubt in my mind you could have found out if I had a girlfriend. True? Nobody, right? Nobody, right? S.A. Grishing said he did not bring up the photos of the sex site searches that Suzanne was supposedly framing him on. Barry said, I never went to a porn site. I'm against watching porn. I do not watch porn. Have I looked at naked women on one of those sites? I have before, but if there was ever a site that I was searching for a woman, it was not me. Barry said, I've never even inappropriately texted another woman since I had been married, probably since I've been in love. He said there is no proof out there that he did so. Barry said he can see agents are genuine and honest and appreciates the work for him. He added, and I just would beg whatever you could do to clear me. S.A. Grishing said agents want to clear him and find Suzanne. Barry was told that the FBI researched Suzanne as if she was a wanted fugitive to include facial recognition and have not found Suzanne. Barry said, I just think if something happened and she left, that something went wrong. And how could we know that? S.A. Grishing talked about the difference between a fugitive trying to disappear from someone with Suzanne's lifestyle disappearing. Barry asked, is suicide, and would that be? S.A. Grishing said investigators believe her body is close to where the bike and helmet are. Barry said, Joe said that you had planes that you could detect disturbed soil. I mean, didn't they do that? S.A. Grishing said the mountainous and rocky terrain makes that method difficult. S.A. Grishing talked about mine shafts, and Barry shifted in his chair. The possibility was posed to Barry that she could not be seen in one of those, also considering the staging of the bike and helmet. Barry said, if that's the case, then why wouldn't we have as many thousands of agents as they've said have been on this case? Why don't they have thousands of people doing a grid search looking for anything that could be a dig site, a bury site, a piece of clothing? Barry posed scenarios of a drifter taking Suzanne or a hit and run. He continued, that's a scenario that's possible. What if a lion grabbed her, took her up? I don't think. I never heard of a lion consuming a whole body. Maybe it's happened. I don't know. But the lion's not going to eat the clothes. So those should be found if it was a lion. Barry agreed to meet again to finish answering agents' questions for the case audit. Moving on to the April 5th, 2021, Part 1 interview. He sure seemed to meet with these investigators quite a few times on his own with no attorney. What are your thoughts on that? Anybody have any idea? Good idea? Bad idea? Is he guilty? Hiding something? Being honest? I'd love to see your thoughts. All right, April 5th. During this two-part interview, FBI agents placed 26 exhibits in front of Barry, including photos Suzanne sent to Libler, cell phone data, search photos, timelines of his activities on May 9th and 10th, and surveillance photos. At approximately 10:25 a.m., S.A. Grishing and S.A. Harris contacted Barry at his residence in Poncha Springs. Barry said, mentally, still kind of in that, just confused mode about, and I've shared this with you guys, about I was the one way, and then when you guys told me about the affair, I was one way, and then when you guys told me about the affair, just did a 180 in my mind. I don't even know if it's a fair way for me to think sometimes. S.A. Grishing asked what Barry meant by a fair way to think. Barry stated, just I don't think about her the way I did before you told me that. Obviously, I think any guy would say that. I love her, I forgive her, but the betrayal, it's just harder. And I never was unfaithful on my part, so I just don't understand it. I want to blame it on the cancer, the chemo, the drugs, the alcohol, and if I could blame it on that, I would feel better. I mean, I don't even think the girls would talk to her if they found out she did this. There's a side note here. At the end of the interview, Barry tells agents he has told the girls about Suzanne's affair. S.A. Gershing asked about the time when Barry texted blank in Mexico about Suzanne not being the one receiving texts from blank. Barry replied, well, blank she had witnessed that once before at the house, where it was a time where Suzanne was just really banging me up about having somebody. And I was kind of at my wit's end, and I grabbed her phone one time, and blank was at school, but blank was there. Side note, this is the second time Barry admitted to grabbing Suzanne's phone, with the other time being in Mexico. And I just let blank know. I said, you need to come down and hear this. I said, your mom thinks I'm having an affair. There's no way I've ever done anything like I told you guys before. That was the only time we ever had arguments. S.A. Harris said agents are concerned about Barry's end-of-life planning steps, to include selling off assets and his statements of not being around anymore and his weight loss. S.A. Gershing added that Barry's behavior with Shoshana, to include pictures of them taken at the Antlers Hotel, appears concerning. Side note, Barry's relationship with Shoshana Dark is documented following this section, and I apologize because that name is a little hard to pronounce. Barry said, well, I'll tell you right now that she's a special person in my life, and I've told you before, she's a dear friend. There's nothing sexual going on with her. And Barry continued, and I didn't meet her until October 25th. The first time I ever even saw her face to face and talked to her was October 25th. Barry said, by meeting Shoshana, God answered his prayer of please give me something. He continued, my daughters know about Shona. They know we're friends. They know I go over there. And yeah, I've been there late at night, but we're talking and we're just helping each other. And that's it. S.A. Gershing addressed the end of the life planning. And again, Barry said, no, I'll be honest with you guys. And I've shared this with you. This thing has been, I'm a tough guy. This has been painful to me. And just being done with it, I've definitely thought about it. I could never worry about that. I know that selling of the assets is just for me to get out of here. I'm getting out of here. On a side note, Barry has articulated numerous times he has considered suicide, has liquidated assets, and plans to leave town. S.A. Gershing discussed the goal of agents to complete the audit, with the gaps that exist and intention to complete the investigation through the best means possible. Barry asked, you assured me that if we get something that's unintelligible here for you guys, you'll clear me. S.A. Gershing agreed, and Barry continued, I just need to move on from this to start healing. So now they're going to have a discussion about Exhibit 1. S.A. Gershing introduced the first page, containing a photo of the surroundings of Barry's house, and it's titled Sheila's Visit in 2019. When asked what was going on, Barry laughed and stated, I told Suzanne this, and I don't know what she told Sheila, but I was in Arizona hunting, and I'd been camping for 7 days. Smelled like crap, looked like crap. I thought they were out in town eating, and I just wanted to make sure they weren't in the house, and I just wanted to get in there and take a shower. And I looked, and it didn't seem like anybody was there. Just went back, and I went up on the hill, and I looked, and I didn't see anything. And they were in there, and I guess they called the Cushmans, and then Pete comes flying out with his pistol. Barry continued, I smell like freaking crap, and I looked like crap, and he wanted to see if they were in the house. S.A. Harris asked if Barry pulled his vehicle into the driveway, and he said, no, I pulled into Betty's drive over there in the cul-de-sac, as he pointed towards the top of the page. S.A. Grishing asked why he parked away from his house, and Barry said, just because I wanted to see if they were there. He said he could shower somewhere else if he needed to, but I haven't seen my wife in 7 days. I'm going to shower. I didn't want Sheila to see me like this. That's all I was doing. S.A. Grishing said agents were wondering if Barry suspected Suzanne was at the house with her lover. Barry replied, no, I knew Sheila was there. When S.A. Grishing repeated, you know Sheila was there, he said, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple of attachments, but I'll get to that here in just a bit. Discussion of Exhibit 2. S.A. Grishing told Barry that Agent Derek Graham previously reviewed with him some of the items on a list made by Suzanne, last backed up on May 8th. Barry was asked if Suzanne ever went through this list with Barry. He said no, but there's things that she would throw at me when she was accusing me of doing something. So if you want to go through that, S.A. Grishing said agents would like to discuss a few items, but not the entire list. Barry was shown the line, can't be healthy and stay in this relationship, and asked if she told him that, to which he replied she did not. S.A. Harris told Barry about the recording from the pen when Suzanne said Barry controlled what she could eat or wear, and Barry interjected, but I've never done that. I've never controlled her like that. He added, and there was one time where we did get into a fight where she said, my cancer came back because of you, the stress you're putting on me. And she did blame that on me during an argument. S.A. Grishing asked if that argument occurred here or in Indiana, and Barry replied, I believe it was here, yeah. When asked how he responded to her, Barry said, I'm like, there's just, how could you say that? He added, how can she say these things about me if I never understood it till now. Now she's got a lover. Well, yeah, she's going to try everything she can to get friction between us. S.A. Grishing cited the May 6th text from Suzanne. The marriage was over, and Barry's response that he loves her and was trying to control his hurt heart. S.A. Grishing described Suzanne wounding him deeply and him trying to move forward. Barry said, yeah, the wound is her falsely accusing me. And I just never understood how to handle that. I can't prove anything to her. But would you think after 32 years, all the dedication and love, that she would trust me and that I'm not going to lie to her about it? Barry stated, and if I did have a woman and I wanted to get it off my chest and get counseling and move forward with that, I would probably do that with her because I loved her. If I made a mistake, it was a mistake. Barry added, but I didn't, and I just couldn't get it in her head. S.A. Grishing interjected to point to the knew I was looking at phone in bonus line from Suzanne's grievance list and asked Barry about that. He stated, she thought I had cameras in the deer eyes of my mounts. She thought there were cameras in there, and I threatened to rip them out and prove it. I didn't want to tear my deer mounts up. But S.A. Grishing interjected to ask if Suzanne talked to Barry about him seeing her on her phone. Barry said, yeah, I've never seen anything on her phone that would just divulge what she was doing. Never. S.A. Grishing asked about the May 6th texts. When Barry told Suzanne, I'm sorry that things went the way they did, he responded, the argument. He continued, I said this all the time to myself, Barry, you do not need to get fired up and just show her love. Barry stated, so with Suzanne, that's what I was saying through this thing. I'm like, Barry, you got to love her to show her love. Don't let her get you fired up and get into an argument. S.A. Grishing reviewed the Wednesday morning text with Suzanne and Barry's responses, then asked if the argument happened before he went to work. Barry said, no, I think it was during work. I was actually on the Bobcat working here, texting her. Now I didn't understand it that morning, but I do now. I mean, she was trying to make me do something or make me leave her or something because of this guy. S.A. Grishing asked what Suzanne said that morning, and Barry asked, via text? He sighed and said Suzanne was accusing him of being with a woman. S.A. Grishing asked Barry, since Suzanne had a lover for 2 years at this point, why would she care if he had a girlfriend? He said, the only thing I can think of is because it would justify her thing to the girls. S.A. Grishing mentioned divorce, and Barry said, yeah, it would justify her divorcing if that's what she wanted. Or it would justify her having her affair if she thought in her mind, which there was sometimes where I truly believed that she really thought that. And I thought that her mind just went crazy in that place. But now that I found all this stuff out, I'm thinking she did that purposefully to try to manipulate the situation with her family. S.A. Harris said Suzanne thought Barry was having an affair at one point. Barry was asked what her distant unlovingness from his text to Suzanne meant to him. Barry stated, just being cold towards me. I didn't understand it at the time, but now if she was in love with someone else and didn't want me, it makes perfect sense now that she was just being distant. S.A. Harris asked if he felt that for a while. Barry responded, talking about Valentine's Day in Florida being amazing, and looking back, she'd talk to this guy and she'd get a different face on and then be cold, and then she would come to her senses. He continued, I just blamed it on her cancer. She's been fighting this in her mind since we left Indiana because that's when she was diagnosed. So I didn't want to ruffle any feathers during her treatment, but it was hard for me to just show her love and take care of her during this time and not get my feelings hurt when she was cold or when she did something, drugs or alcohol. S.A. Grishing asked Barry if he bought a VPN on blank credit card. Reference Suzanne's note, bought VPN security using blank name card. A virtual private network allows users to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. Barry said, no, if I did, it was an accident. And I think I told, and I don't even know what that is, but I think I told blank and mom that I was trying. Somebody called me about fraud and said, you need this to protect yourself. And if that's what you're talking about. S.A. Grishing said, the purchase was in February 2020. And Barry said, yeah, if that was it, I thought I was buying fraud protection. And I didn't know what I was buying, but obviously if my memory recalls what I was buying, right? I think Suzanne thought I was doing something, secretly, which I wasn't. S.A. Grishing asked about Suzanne's note. Bedroom profession about marrying, having babies. In reference to someone else. Barry laughed and said, no, we was having sex one time and I said it to her. It was just in the heat of the moment in a sexual frenzy. And I said it directly to her. I said, I want to marry you and have babies. But she thought I was talking to my hand. This woman that's in my hand in a chip. Well, that seems really strange. I don't even know what that means. Anybody? S.A. Grishing addressed Suzanne's complaints regarding security cameras, asking Barry if he removed the DVR recording device for the home system. That wires seemed disconnected. Barry said, I don't remember. And I would almost bet $100,000 that she took them out. They never worked. When we got here, they did for a little bit, and I hired a company to come, but I don't know if they did the work because of her sabotaging them or what. But I could care less about them, so it didn't matter to me. So S.A. Grishing asked Barry if he could use his phone to see the camera's footage, and he said, well, that's what I do with my door security. I just got the alarm set, so if somebody comes in, they think the cops are coming. But it's not hooked directly to a company. S.A. Grishing asked Barry if he synced the cameras from his house to his phone. Barry answered, I don't think I could ever get them. And I thought it was because of the bad reception, the cell service in the mountains. So after everything happened, I could do that. But I couldn't always get them on my phone because of the cell service. But sometimes I could. S.A. Grishing asked, sometimes you could? S.A. Grishing and S.A. Harris asked Barry what wireless service he used to send the signal from the cameras to his phone. Barry said, I didn't know if it happened through HughesNet. It was our internet provider. I didn't know. I just know that when he, the new guy, put the new ones on, he showed me the app. S.A. Gershing asked if Barry could get the camera feed sporadically. Barry said, yeah, I could never open them when I just wanted to. It just seemed like sometimes they would open, sometimes. S.A. Gershing interjected, asking Barry what app he used. Barry replied, Luna, I think. Luna, yeah. Barry stated, under my best recollection, all of my cameras were in my safe because I never used cameras in hunting season. Every once in a while, I'd put one on the driveway just to see a car coming in and out. But S.A. Gershing said agents tried to find Barry chasing the chipmunks on the cameras recovered and could not. He said, well, I don't think any cameras were there. They were in the safe. He added, everything was in the safe. They took everything from the safe. S.A. Gershing asked Barry how he knew the chipmunk was outside to chase it that day, and he said, oh, they're always out there. That's just what I do. I mean, I've shot 85 chipmunks at my house, and when I'm bored, I shoot chipmunks. S.A. Gershing said, right, and asked if the chipmunk gun was in the car or truck with him, and he said, did not remember. S.A. Gershing noted from the evidence it appeared Barry made it from the garage to the porch in 7 seconds, and asked Barry if he remembered where the gun was. Barry stated, I don't recall. It could have been in the truck. It might have been, but I don't recall. S.A. Gershing asked if the scope was mounted on the gun at the time, and Barry said, yeah, nodding his head. S.A. Gershing asked Barry what he did with the chipmunk after he killed it. He said he either threw it up on the hill where the crows come and get them or down by the river. S.A. Gershing asked Barry about Suzanne's statement, just wrestled free. And Barry said, I've never constricted her with my arms. Never, he added. And if we were ever in an argument, I would push up against her, maybe, and then she would maybe slip around me. But I've never grabbed her and constricted her. I told you the one incident where I struck her. That was the only time in my entire life where I ever did anything. So if she's saying there was anything physical besides that, it's absolutely 100% not true. Barry asked about blank sheets being a free-for-all statement by him being related to a trank dart being used. Barry asked, in the house? S.A. Gershing said it was unknown if it was used in the house, then asked if it was related to the sheets on blank bed. Barry said, absolutely not. I told you that is what I do is I will open that back door and I trank a deer in the backyard that's sitting there eating my grass. And if there's any trank dart anywhere, it's from one of those. S.A. Gershing said the evidence of the trank dart was found inside the house. Barry replied, yeah. Or I've shot deer from that little breezeway, from between the garage and the laundry room, out that back door. And then a side note to that is the breezeway is located directly beside the lawn chairs where Barry earlier said Suzanne was sunbathing when he came home at 2:44 p.m. when she provided Jeff Libler with her last proof of life. S.A. Gershing asked about the back door, and Barry said the back door is outside the kitchen window where the bird bath is. Yeah. If there's a trank dart out there or outside or in the house, it's me from shooting deer. All right. So now we have discussion of Exhibit 3. I really thought I was going to try to get through this entire document today here on Part 4. There's another 30 pages to go, so I think about a page or so here, I'm going to wrap it up, and I will schedule another live to get through the last portion of the arrest affidavit. Thanks, you guys, for joining. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd hit the subscribe button, click the like, share the video. I greatly appreciate it. That would be awesome. All right, back at it. Discussion of Exhibit 3. S.A. Gershing showed Barry an exhibit labeled 12 consecutive calls May 9th and explained that investigators thought Suzanne may have disappeared Friday night until seeing the texts between her and her lover. Barry was told Suzanne's thinking at this point in the marriage was summed up by the May 6th text and opposed to Barry's assertions. S.A. Gershing said that from 2:47 p.m. on Saturday forward, she was not responding to her lover. Barry said, "That's because we were together and we had talked about having a good evening together and putting phones down." S.A. Harris explained how investigators looked at evidence and statements considering people's biases versus the lack of bias from evidentiary items like cell phones and telematics. When things don't add up, investigators consider the bias component and most likely side with the evidence. S.A. Gershing told Barry that investigators want the truth from him even if it does not look good for him. He said, meaning affirmative. Barry was told that that would be one of my puppy dogs. We are a dog-friendly place, so occasionally that does happen. Barry told Barry that investigators want the truth from him, even if it does not look good. Barry said, and he agreed affirmatively. Barry was told that he, like many in his position in similar investigation, is hesitant to talk about Saturday afternoon because he thinks agents would rush to judgment and say he did this. S.A. Gershing said Suzanne's phone was either taken or shut off, not under her control on Saturday. Barry said, "Well, that didn't happen. I didn't take her phone that day. I didn't know she was communicating with somebody, but we did discuss having a good evening together and turning phones off. And maybe I put mine in airplane mode instead of turning mine. I don't remember what I did." S.A. Gershing said Barry took his phone out of airplane mode at 10:17 p.m. Barry asked, "That night?" S.A. Gershing confirmed, "That night." Barry said, "Or she did." S.A. Gershing said, "She brought yours out of airplane mode." Barry said, "Yeah." S.A. Gershing said, "That would be odd because Suzanne's phone had no activity." Barry replied, "Yeah, I'm not. I just don't recall taking it out of airplane mode." Barry stood up and walked towards a cell phone that was charging. The phone rang about 5 minutes previously. He said, "Let me make sure that's not my work calling." Discussion of Exhibit 4. S.A. Gershing turned to communications between Suzanne and her lover, Fred. Barry was shown the photo of Suzanne dated April 14th, 2020, and asked if he thought she looked high. He said, "Yeah." S.A. Gershing clarified, "She looks intoxicated to you," Barry stated. "Yes. Do you mind if I read?" Barry asked, "Is this him or her?" Agents explained the messages and photos were Suzanne's side of the texting to her lover. After reading a few pages, Barry said, "Yeah, she looks intoxicated on every picture I've seen so far." S.A. Gershing pointed to a photo of Suzanne wearing a red shirt on April 18th, 2020, and asked, "That one?" Barry said, "Yep." Of course, I'm assuming this is the photo of the red shirt, but it's black and white, but the others are light in color, so. After continuing to read through the texts, Barry said, "She's saying she's wearing." He was referencing the 4/21/2020 photo of Suzanne wearing a yellow and white shirt with her text, "Thanks, baby, I wear it for you." Barry stopped reading, sat down, and asked agents if he had thoughts. He said, "That's pretty hurtful." Discussion of Exhibit 5. Barry was shown a photo of papers for the Broomfield wall, and S.A. Harris explained the photo was from a bathroom drawer. Barry said, "Yeah, that's probably my side of the bathroom." S.A. Gershing asked if he came back from the site and put those in the drawer. Barry said, "I had different copies," he added. "That was the original copy they gave me, like when we first was looking at the job." Discussion of Exhibit 6. S.A. Gershing showed Barry a photo of a .22 round in his bedroom, asking Barry if he knew where it was from. He said, "No, I don't." He guessed it came from his pocket when Suzanne was folding laundry. S.A. Gershing showed Barry a photo of damage to the door frame of their bedroom, explaining the prior owner said it was not there previously. Barry was asked if that was the result of an argument or him being locked out. He said, I have no idea what that's from. When asked if he knew it was there, Barry replied, no. Hey, Lily G. Thanks for joining us. S.A. Grishing showed Barry a page showing friend requests on Suzanne's Facebook on Friday, May 8th, and asked him if he was responsible. Barry said no. He added, I never did anything on her Facebook. S.A. Grishing said by this date in May, Suzanne had the text fight with him, and they were accusing each other of having lovers. Barry was asked if he was sending the request to see if she had a boyfriend. He said, absolutely 100% no. No, I absolutely did not. I never went into her phone, into her Facebook ever. The only time I touched her phone was in Mexico when I thought she was secretly doing something. I think I told you that story. And she said, here, and gave me, and you can look. And she gave it to me and let me look because there's no way I could find out what you guys found. Barry continued, and I went to Snapchat and I looked through all of her Snapchat people and I looked through all of her text people and I didn't see anything and I gave it back to her. Hey, Lily, Gigi. Yes, I am reading it word for word. The entire document. Oh, whoops. Little glitch here. S.A. Grishing asked Barry about Suzanne's list. Oh boy. Hold on one second. I got myself messed up here. I got to get back to my spot. All right. S.A. Grishing asked Barry about Suzanne's list. Chased me around the resort, and threatened and took phone. If those occurred at the same time, Barry replied, yeah, I don't remember chasing her, but I maybe walked behind her. Wouldn't chase through a resort, but I was wanting her phone, and that's when I got it. S.A. Grishing returned to the Bobby Huff and Facebook request, confirming it was not Barry, and he said, no, absolutely not. Barry continued, if you look at my Facebook account, you'll see that I've never communicated with anybody, maybe a high school friend here or there, but never any of those women I don't know. Never had communication. And she was bothered by that. And I said, if you want me to cancel it, I'll just cancel it. And I ended up just canceling it. And it wasn't worth me having to fight my wife about it. And we've talked about Facebook before because we had a friend's marriage blow apart because of a Facebook contact with an old boyfriend. And I said, I just don't think it's good for us to even have it. So obviously, look what happened. Barry continued, she had it, contacted somebody, and here it is. All right. S.A. Harris asked Barry if he had any thoughts now of why she did those friend requests. Barry said, because she would probably know that I would get upset if she would friend men. And she's probably, from everything we've talked about, in a state of mind where she just don't care anymore about what I think. S.A. Grishing asked if Suzanne would know Barry would see it, and he said probably not. S.A. Grishing questioned why she would do it to upset Barry if she did not think he would see it. Barry said, I don't think she knew. I just didn't touch her phone. I mean, maybe she thought I did, but S.A. Grishing said it seemed like she set a trap for Barry, and he said, I mean, it sounds like that to me. I don't think she did it I don't know why she did it, but I don't think that she would think that I am going to look at her Facebook account because I just don't do it. S.A. Grishing said Barry told agents prior that their phones were tied together through Apple, and he had the main. Barry interjected, yeah, but she changes hers. She got her own private blank. I don't know what that says. And obviously now I see why she did it for this boy. Barry added, but yeah, she had her own Apple ID and password and stuff I knew nothing about. S.A. Grishing asked Barry if he knew by now who Suzanne's lover was, and he said, "No, I'm still in the dark about that." S.A. Grishing asked if he cared at this point, and he said, "Well, I want to know. I'm afraid of doing something I'll regret. But I would not kill the guy, but if I would see him, I would probably hit him pretty hard in the nose." Blank came home and Barry asked to continue the interview at the fire station. At 11:41 a.m., agents followed Barry inside the station while he spoke on the phone. While being seated, Barry said he was working on a project at the river property. S.A. Grishing said investigators are trying to determine if anyone independent of Barry could provide a last proof of life of Suzanne. He asked, "What about the two people that saw her Sunday?" He added, "I just heard there were two people." S.A. Grishing interrupted, saying those leads had been covered. S.A. Grishing told Barry that after 2:44 p.m. on Saturday, no other person besides Barry could say Suzanne was alive. Barry was asked if he could try working backwards through the events from Sunday morning to Saturday afternoon to see if more leads could be developed. S.A. Grishing asked if the last thing Barry remembered about Suzanne was hearing her breathing. Barry said no. "Last thing I heard her do was snoring." He added, "lightly snoring," and S.A. Grishing asked if she was in bed. Barry said yes. S.A. Grishing asked where Barry was when he heard her. He said, "I was going from the bathroom to the kitchen, just 'cause I get ready in the bathroom." Barry was asked the last time he saw or heard Suzanne prior to that. He said, "Just probably before we went to sleep after we had sex." S.A. Grishing asked what happened before that, and Barry said, "Before that, we had dinner." When asked where he sat, Barry said, "At the bar." Barry was asked what he ate and what she ate. He said, "We split a steak. She never eats a full meal." When S.A. Grishing asked what else he or she ate, Barry said, "I don't recall." S.A. Grishing asked before that. Barry said, "Before that, I think it had to be when I got home from doing my bobcat with Crib, and she was outside laying out in the sun." He added, "I think I sat out there with her. I don't know if that's what I did, the chipmunks, or when did the chipmunks before I went to Crib. I don't recall." And a side note, this account of Suzanne laying out inconsistent with her photo to Libler at 2:03 p.m., but counter to Barry's previous assertions that she was laying out when he got home at 11:30 a.m. S.A. Grishing said because of Barry's phone activity, the chipmunks would have occurred after the Crib trip. Barry stated, "Okay, then the chipmunks, she was laying out. I was looking. I probably went to sit with her while she was laying out, seen a chipmunk, and got my gun and shot the chipmunk." S.A. Grishing asked Barry to work forward from the chipmunk, and Barry said, "I truly don't recall that." S.A. Grishing told Barry that on that Saturday at 11 a.m., he told Morgan Gentile he was planning to take a hike or bike ride with Suzanne, but now he was unsure if his Foose's hike was that day. Barry stated, "I've not recalled what that day was. It could have been Saturday, but I just don't recall it." He added, "But I know it was in that probably 3-day period. I do remember that much, but it could have been Saturday. It could have been Friday. I just don't recall." So on that note, everybody, I think I'm going to go ahead and schedule a live part 4 here very, very soon. We will resume right here at discussion of Exhibit 8, page 103, and move forward from there to finalize, finish, and complete the arrest affidavit. And just curious, anybody have any thoughts? Is there anything new, intriguing, interesting to you? Proof of evidence? You believe Barry's guilty, innocent? I'd love to know your thoughts. That'd be awesome. I appreciate everybody listening in. If you guys could share, like, and hit the subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. That would be awesome. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Again, I will post a a notice for the upcoming live for the last part. Thanks, you guys. Bye for now. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one. I'll be back soon. Thank you.